Hey guys, welcome back. Well, we are working on getting this panel on, and I'll show you the good and the bad. So the good is we got the fitment pretty good. As you can see, this is pretty much the hardest part to line up, is to get these to match. And I mean, let's see if I can zoom in and kind of illustrate. That fitment is really good. They pretty much blend in. There it goes. Like it's one piece. But we put a lot of effort into that, and that's why. And then across this top, we did some fitment as well, and you can see it's pretty good. And looks like it's gonna work. The only bad spot is right here. Here's my thumb for reference. That's probably close to a 200 thou gap. That sucks. So, whoops. But that's just how we laid it out. Because that other panel was damaged, it was really hard to take a measurement off of it. So, oh well. You see the bottom fits pretty good. A little bit of gap here and there. But some of this I can, when I'm welding it, I can actually like push this and close that up some. So we'll be able to do a little better. But anyway, we got this going on. We're still trying to figure out how we're gonna weld this. This is 30 thousandths steel. So I hate welding thin steel. I'm not very good at it. For some reason, I can weld thin aluminum better than I can weld thin steel. I don't know why. I just don't seem to be able to do a good job with steel. But we're gonna try it. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, this is what I've been worried about, is getting this to blend. And these are real close. Like I can push that with my finger. So like when I'm welding this, I'll make sure I have that perfect before I put my tacks. But it's pretty close where it is. So I'm pretty happy with it. Anyway, we got our TIG welder over here, and we got a MIG welder. We got to decide which one of these we're going to use. I'm going to try the MIG at first. I'm going to start down here where you can't see, and see if we can't get some tack welds put down. And if it looks viable, we're going to do the whole thing with the MIG. We had planned to use a TIG. I'm just worried that that's not going to work. We're going to end up blowing holes in it. But anyway, we'll try the MIG. If it doesn't work, we'll try the TIG, see what works best. Hey guys, welcome back. Well, we started welding this panel on. So far, that's the only spot we've welded, and we've been doing this at least a couple of hours, probably longer. But so far, it's going okay. The one thing we're noticing is, and it's probably not surprising, but this wants to move and twist, and real hard to keep it lined up. There's a spot right about here where it looks like the weld's a little bigger. We actually had to get a Dremel with a cutoff wheel and cut and redo a spot because I thought it was flush, and I put like 5 tack welds, which were like the prettiest welds I've done. And then those welds, it had moved. And then there was no way to fix it without cutting it. So we had to cut and redo. But anyway, we're doing okay now. So what we found is you want to go about every 1/2 inch. So like put a tack and then go about a 1/2 inch and get it perfectly lined up and put a tack there and make sure it didn't move, and then keep doing that. So here there's like about a 3-inch section that we did, and then basically, you know, every 1/2 inch there's a tack, and then I went and put one in the middle, so they're every 1/4 inch and then every 1/8 inch, and I'm just going to keep doing that until it fills it in. This one over here, we ended up just welding over the top of all of our tacks, and I don't know how I feel about that. Some ways it's good because it gets rid of pinholes, but in some ways it's bad. So I'm not sure, but either way, we're getting there. It's getting a little easier now that we've done some of this, because you're working. The good thing is you're standing up, but it's still a little awkward and trying to figure out how to stand and weld. So you can see right here we're tacked, but then right there, that edge is poking out. It's pretty obvious from a top view. But if you look by the tack, it's pretty close. It's poking out a little, but not much. So yeah, we're just having to fight this all the way. But it's going. It's going slow, but it's going. So keep working on this. We ordered a finger sander, but it's not going to be here for a while. So we'll see once it's all welded on. I don't know if we're going to do any finish work. We may just wait for that tool to come in. We'll see. But anyway, onwards and upwards. Okay, so we got the sucker welded on, and it went so-so. So on the top here, try to give you guys a rundown. There's like good and bad and ugly. So we started off great. We did this corner first because this is the hardest one to get matched in all these compound curves. We kind of nailed that. Even got good welds. Then, right here, this spot, which is not really going to show up on camera. Maybe it will. But there's a tiny little, like it loses its curve right here. So what happened was I tacked it and I went back and just welded this like probably 3-inch section. And the heat, when it cooled, it contracts and it pulled that curve flatter than it should be. It's still a curve, but you can kind of feel it. Anyway, oops. I'm not a sheet metal guy. And anyway, even a body repair shop, a lot of them don't do this. They would have just bondoed it. So that happened. So after this spot, we knew from here on we're going to put a lot of little tacks and just go in and fill them in. And that's what we did. And this didn't really wrinkle. It did a lot better going that way. Now I know, should have done the whole panel that way. Then we got to this section. This looks awful, but believe me, it could have been even worse. So this, multiple things happened. You can see there's a shifter out here. Maybe you can see it. Yeah. So we got out of alignment a little bit at the bottom, but that's okay. It was actually lined up about here, and we're cutting everything below this anyway. So that's why I didn't even weld it. That's getting cut off. But even up here, it's going to be hard to show, but there's a step. We did not get this line up perfect. And it basically just moved when we were welding it. We had hell filling this gap. It sucked. And we haven't ground it yet. We don't know what it's going to look like. So we did all this stuff at the top with a TIG. Then, I mean, and this took for like hours. Very slow. So then we had to do the bottom and this piece here, and we MIG welded it. This is all behind, this part here is behind the tail light. All of this is underneath the bumper cover because the bumper fits like right here. So we were 1000% MIG welding that. And we did, and it probably went 30 times faster. Some of the welds didn't look as good, but you know what? That's what the grinder's for. And as you can see, once we ground them back, well, maybe you can see, I don't know how good it shows up. It's acceptable. We put a radius in here with the wheel. I'm gonna go back and Dremel it. Like right here, I couldn't get in there and grind as much. So it could be prettier. We'll probably Dremel this a little bit just to kind of clean it up a little more. But that's plenty good enough because that's all going to be out of sight. And the next part is the top. Now we bought a finger grinder, but it's not going to be here till Tuesday, and today's a Saturday. So we still got like 3 days for the grinder. And here's the reality. Maybe this is good, it's bad. I thought it was bad, but my goal was I wanted to weld this on and not use any body filler. I don't think that's going to happen. We did weld it on. We got rid of the crunched up panel, but we are going to have to use some body filler, and there's multiple reasons. One is this spot, because that's a little bit lower. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible to hide that unless you put body filler. Like a really thin piece, it ain't going to take much. I'm pretty sure this is off. When I grind it, it'll be more obvious. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be a step here. We're going to have to put something to blend that. This tiny little flat spot where the weld shrunk, it may or may not be visible, but I mean, if you want to fix it, you got to have some filler, you know. And then, this is going to be hard to show. There's these teeny little like micro, as you can kind of capture in the light, you'll see them go by. They're basically, when I was sanding, the grinder leaves like little marks, like right here I can feel them. You can kind of see those. Anyway, those little divots, I think they'll show up more when there's paint. Yeah, you can kind of see them there, like right there. Those are like teeny little micro dents. And that's from the grinder, I think, when I was sanding. Again, filler will fill that right up. Several layers of paint and sanding would too. But I think the filler is going to be the way to go. So this is going to be, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good repair. Plenty of people use filler. We're not going to be putting a 1/4 inch thick. We're just doing like a skim, basically. And that's what it's going to take. But overall, this will be pretty high quality. I guess it won't be like 10 out of 10 quality, but it's still better than, I think it'll be better than average when it's done, just because I don't think any shops would have realistically cut this piece out to fix it. So anyway, I guess it's all good. We are fixing to take our grinder with a sanding wheel. I'll show you what we're using on that. It's just a flapper wheel. We're going to take that to all these welds, and what we're going to try to do is get like 70 or 80% of that weld off and try not to hit the base metal, and then go back and finish it with a Dremel, because we're trying not to put any more marks on this than we have to. But like Dremeling this would take 3 hours, so we're going to use the big grinder and it'll take 5 minutes. So anyway, that's our next steps. But man, it feels good to finally be addressing this after so long, and I'll be glad when this is done. I want to get back to doing my fenders, We actually only did this because I was fixing to cut this fender, and I was like, wait, I better do this now, because I really wasn't going to do this otherwise. So I'm going to push our time frame a little bit, but I'll feel good that this is done. And now we're committed. It's like, hey, we're painting the car, you know, this opens up other opportunities. So it's all good. And last but not least, we did test fit the tail light. It does fit. I haven't test fitted it since I welded it all out. I had it like halfway welded, so I guess I should check again. But I mean, at this point, even if something was off, we would just, you know, we would fix whatever it is, but we're not going to take this off, obviously. But I think we're good. So anyway, we're going to go back to grinding and sanding and get this cleaned up some more. So here's the panel after our first round of sanding. So we gave up on the Dremel. It's just way too slow, and that wheel is so tiny that it really wasn't doing what we need. So we just went to the big wheel, and it's going to leave some gouging, but because the wheel is so much bigger, it does a much smoother job, like feeling this way. I mean, it's hard to, like, I can tell the welds here, but I mean, man, that did a good job. Way better than the Dremel. So you can see the top weld where we TIG welded it. I mean, this turned out pretty badass. It's hard to see where the weld actually is. You can see some pitting right here. That's where the weld is. But I mean, look at it as you go across, you know. It's not bad. I mean, like right here, you can feel it, but you can't see it. So I guess it's not perfect, but works pretty well. Yeah, I guess it needs a little more, but anyway, you can see what's bad is this seam where we had that gap. Yeah, I wish that hadn't happened, but what you gonna do? So you can see actually right here, we actually went through, poked a hole in our crappy weld. The rest of it's mostly there. And you can see because the panel's low, it leaves this gap here. I'm running into the other metal. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back in all these low spots right here. We're just gonna fill in that hole and fill all these low spots with weld and just come back and sand it again. I don't know what else to do. But I want that to be as much metal as I can before we do any kind of filler. But the rest of this, like here's the bottom seam. I mean, it's not bad. Here it is in the back where we tied into the factory. So, yeah, in this area. So, pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're gonna go back and re-weld here and re-sand. Go from there, see what that gets us. Okay, so this is after the second round of sanding. So we basically went and TIG welded this area, the low spots we could find, and then sanded it again. And it's better. I can't say it's great. There's, you know, you can't make the step go away, but we did get rid of some of the pitting and thickened up some of the thin spots. Pretend like you don't see that. But we're probably going to stop there, at least for tonight. We might mess with this some more tomorrow, but I think this is close enough. We got our panel put on. It's welded on, you know. It's pretty good. I don't know if this shows up. Yeah, see all these little dents? You can actually see them in the light. This is a good shot. Those are shallow. They're not very deep at all, but you can feel it and you can see it. And that's just the way we're sanding it. So like I said, we're going to put some kind of real thin something over this to hide all of that. And I guess in this area you'll have to do something like this to feather that in. But oh well, I'm good with it. This is probably, I'm gonna guess this is probably like a 7 out of 10 repair. You know, it'll be solid, but it won't be like super high quality, but it'll still be better than average, I think. Or at least that's what we're shooting for. So overall, pretty happy with this. Till next time, y'all take it easy.